The internet thought the chaos had finally died down, until King Harris hit the upload button. Within seconds, a truth long buried exploded onto every screen in America. The video was grainy, uncut, and time-stamped. It showed something no one ever expected to see. Ty and Shekinah Anderson standing side by side, exchanging vows in what looked like a secret wedding ceremony. The world wasn't supposed to see it, but now it was everywhere. The leak sent shockwaves through Atlanta's celebrity circles. Old wounds reopened, especially for Tiny Harris, who had spent months in court defending her story. She had sworn her best friend betrayed her, that her husband was innocent, and that the footage she gave prosecutors was real. But now, every second of King's video told a different story. Was her evidence fake? Had her victory been built on lies? And why would her own son risk everything to expose it? When the clip went live, the city of Atlanta felt the impact instantly. Phones buzzed in homes, studios, and classrooms. Within minutes, timelines were burning with the same message. King Harris just posted a new video. The thumbnail was blurry, showing only dim lights and two shadows standing in a chapel. First, people thought it was a prank. Then the sound kicked in. A trembling voice whispered, "I do." The other voice replied, and suddenly everything stopped. Social media went wild. Influencers broke down the footage frame by frame, arguing about rings, reflections, and background voices. Some said it had to be fake, a digital trick meant to stir drama. But then, tech experts confirmed something chilling. The date code in the file was real and years old. That meant the video existed long before the court case even began. Tiny's silence was deafening. Inside her mansion, she sat frozen, staring at her phone as thousands of comments poured in. People accused her of lying, manipulating evidence, and framing her friend. She tried to steady her breath, but memories she had buried came rushing back. Everything she had built, her career, her image, her family, suddenly felt like it was crumbling. Outside, reporters crowded the courthouse once again. News vans filled the streets, cameras aimed at the steps, waiting for someone to speak. But Tiny didn't appear. The only person talking was her son, who had unknowingly started a firestorm. King Harris sat in his room, staring at the hard drive that started it all. He'd found it hidden in his father's old studio drawer, labeled Family Vault. He hadn't meant to destroy anyone. He just wanted the truth to come out. Now, as his phone buzzed with millions of views, he didn't know how to feel. Some people called him brave. Others said he'd ruined his mother's life. Meanwhile, in a prison cell miles away, Shekinah Anderson was just learning about the leak. Guards whispered before finally turning on the TV. The headline made her gasp. The reporter's voice said, "A newly surfaced video appears to show Shekinah Anderson and T.I. in a private wedding ceremony, raising questions about evidence used in her conviction." She covered her face and started to cry, tears of shock, relief, and disbelief all at once. By sunset, the internet was divided. Hashtags like #TinyLied and #KingTheTruth were trending. Talk shows debated loyalty, truth, and morality. Former friends picked sides publicly. One radio host summed it up best: "This isn't justice, it's a family falling apart in real time." T.I. himself hadn't been seen since the video surfaced. Some neighbors claimed they heard shouting from his house. Others said he'd gone into hiding. People speculated he was rewatching the footage on repeat, searching for any explanation that could make it all make sense. The man known for keeping his composure was now at the center of a storm he couldn't control. Tiny's lawyer finally broke the silence. "They're reopening everything," he told her quietly. The DA's office wanted to review the case. If the video was authentic, she could face perjury charges. Tiny's hands shook as she whispered, "You think I knew?" But he didn't answer. Deep down, she wasn't sure anymore. Maybe she believed the lie so strongly that it felt like truth. By midnight, the video had surpassed 10 million views. Brands dropped partnerships, and celebrities reacted online. What began as gossip had turned into a cultural reckoning, a reflection of how far people would go for fame, loyalty, and revenge. In her cell, Shekinah whispered through tears, "Thank you, King." The sound was small but powerful. The truth had escaped, and there was no locking it away again. The next morning, Atlanta was quiet but tense. Reporters flooded the courthouse steps as whispers spread that Shekinah's lawyers had filed for a retrial. If that video's real, one clerk said, she's walking free. Across town, T.A. sat in his dark studio, replaying the wedding clip over and over. His face on screen looked younger, happier, unaware of the chaos that would come. The truth was loud, raw, and impossible to escape. Meanwhile, Tiny sat alone, her phone still buzzing. She replayed King's upload, pausing on his face before he hit post. Her son's betrayal cut deeper than any rumor. Their last fight echoed in her head. She'd told him he didn't understand the adult world. He'd looked her in the eyes and said, "I understand more than you think." Now she knew he was right. And as thunder rolled over Atlanta that night, one truth became clear. Secrets can stay buried for years, but once they surface, nothing, no fame, no lie, no family bond, can ever put them back in the vault. Atlanta hadn't seen chaos like this in years. Hashtags filled every timeline. Hashtag Tiny lied. Hashtag King saved her. Hashtag truth wins, flooding social media faster than anyone could refresh their screens. When Shekinah Anderson finally stepped out of the courthouse, rain poured around her like a movie scene. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but she didn't respond. Her face showed a mix of exhaustion and victory. She paused at the top of the steps, lifted her head toward the sky, and whispered something only the rain could hear. Moments later, Tiny Harris slipped out a side door, hoping to escape unnoticed. But the crowd spotted her instantly. People yelled, asking if the evidence was fake, if she had lied, if she had anything to say to Shekinah. She kept her head down and walked away without a word. Back home, she sat in silence, watching the news replay the courthouse scene. Every image reminded her of how everything had fallen apart. Then she saw her son, King, standing outside in the rain, watching quietly. For the first time in days, T.I. finally spoke. "You did what I couldn't." By nightfall, the judge's ruling broke online. Shekinah Anderson's conviction was suspended pending retrial. The internet exploded again. Memes, cheers, and tears filled every corner of social media. In her small cell, Shekinah smiled for the first time in months. Freedom wasn't certain yet, but hope had returned, and that was enough. Meanwhile, at Tiny's mansion, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Asterisk, there's more. Check your email. Asterisk, curious and uneasy, she opened her laptop and froze. Another video. The same timestamp as the first one, but this time it showed someone editing the footage. The reflection in the monitor was clear. It was T.I. himself. Tiny's heart dropped. The truth hit like thunder. The video that destroyed Shekinah's life wasn't created by her lawyers. It had been edited by her husband. He had built the lie and handed it to her. Her glass of wine slipped from her hand, shattering across the floor. The sound echoed through the quiet house like an accusation. Crosstown T.I. sat in his car, rain sliding down the windshield. He had already seen the same video. Someone had sent it to him anonymously. He knew the truth was out, and there was no running from it. When he finally walked into the mansion, Tiny was waiting in the dark. The blue glow of the paused video filled the room. "You did this," she whispered. "You ruined everything." T.I. didn't deny it. "I was trying to protect us," he said softly. Tiny shook her head. "You didn't protect anyone. You destroyed us all." By morning, the second leak was everywhere. Screens lit up with the image of T.I. editing the original footage, proof that he'd tampered with evidence. Within hours, Shekinah's conviction was overturned. She walked out of the courthouse free, smiling through the chaos. "The truth always wins," she told reporters. Back home, Tiny sat in silence as her world crumbled. Her husband's empire was gone, her reputation in ruins. Later that night, King returned home. Standing in the doorway, he looked at his father and said quietly, "You always told me to tell the truth. Guess I finally learned that." T.I. didn't argue. There was nothing left to say. The truth had caught up to them all. Atlanta buzzed with gossip, wondering how love, fame, and power had turned into betrayal. Somewhere downtown, Shekinah sat in a cafe, watching the rain start again. Her phone buzzed with a message. Asterisk, it's not over. There's one more file. Asterisk, she smiled faintly and whispered, "Let it leak. Because once the truth starts to come out, there's no stopping it."